Drama unfolded under the Middle Eastern night sky on April 13, 2024, as a new chapter of conflict was written in this volatile region. For the first time, Iran launched Operation True Promise, directly targeting Israel, igniting alarm bells over the prospect of a broader war. As air raid sirens pierced the calm of early hours of April 14th, the tension escalated. Israel, not one to sit quietly under threat, struck back at Iran within days. But what drives this deep-seated animosity? Why would Iran choose such a provocative path against Israel? Let's look at the ideological and geopolitical forces that fuels Iran's relentless assaults and unpack why this conflict shows no signs of easing up. First, the attack itself. Iran launched over 300 drones and missiles. The launch points included territory in Iran, Iraq, Yemen, and Lebanon. It was the largest drone operation in history. According to Iran's state television, the weapons involved included the Shahed 136, which had already become infamous for its role in Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Sources affiliated with Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, said that the Shahed 238 was also involved. This drone is faster than the 136, as it's powered by a turbojet rather than a propeller. The 238's faster flight time better matches the events that took place on the nights between the 13th and 14th. There were 170 drones in total. Iranian sources also mentioned that the Emad ballistic missiles, the Khyber-Shekan missiles, and Pave cruise missiles were used in the attack. Iran launched 120 such ballistic missiles and 30 cruise missiles. Iran's proxies, the Lebanese Hezbollah, also participated, claiming that it fired rockets into the Golan Heights, targeting an Israeli barracks. The attack came in two waves. The drones comprised the first phase. Their job was to deplete Israeli air defenses and pave the way for the missiles that would come in the second wave. Israel had help from its allies in the region to fend off the Iranian attack. The United States helped to shoot down many of the Iranian projectiles. Britain's Royal Air Force did as well, with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak claiming that Typhoon fighters based in Cyprus had taken out a number of the drones. According to Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, a spokesman for the Israeli military, France was also patrolling the airspace and likely acted in some capacity, whether through direct action or intelligence support with the radars it had in the area. Jordan also shot down intruders over its airspace. None of the drones or cruise missiles penetrated Israeli territory. Most of the ballistic missiles were also destroyed. The few that made it into Israel did little damage. The most notable one slightly damaged Israel's Nevatim airbase south of the West Bank. The only significant injury was of a 7-year-old girl in the Bedouin community in southern Israel. She suffered a serious head wound when fragments of an intercepted ballistic missile fell on her family's home in the town of Arad. 31 others were treated for minor injuries or anxiety. Iran launched its attack in response to an Israeli airstrike on a building in the diplomatic compound of the former embassy in Damascus, Syria, on April 1st. The building had been used by the IRGC's Quds Force, its intelligence and special operations unit, and the attack killed 11 of its members, including Brigadier General Mohammad Reza Zahedi, who was in charge of its operations in Syria and Lebanon. Despite Iran's promise of retaliation for the Damascus strike, the attack on Israel seemed theatrical. The Israelis had hours to prepare, and the number of drones was far from sufficient to overwhelm Israel's robust air defense network. The spectacle of the weapons flying overhead seemed designed to spread on social media, and only sparsely populated areas were hit by missiles in the end. Afterward, Iran immediately declared Operation True Promise to have concluded as a success. Overall, it resembled Iran's retaliatory strike after the United States targeted killing of Qasem Soleimani in Iraq in January 2020. Iran launched a telegraphed retaliatory attack on American military positions in Iraq shortly afterward. The only casualties were 100 passengers on an Iranian domestic airliner that was accidentally targeted on takeoff during the attack, which caused significant embarrassment for Tehran. Nevertheless, despite similar theatrics, there are important differences between this incident and the 2020 one. Aside from it being much bigger, Israel has retaliated, which the United States did not do. Israel is also Iran's arch-enemy and serves as a formidable obstacle for it to achieve its regional ambitions. Hard as it is to believe now, Iran and Israel had good relations before the former's Islamic Revolution in 1979. It recognized Israel in 1950, long before most other states in the region. There was a great amount of dissent in Tehran over this until Shah Mohammad's power over Iranian politics was strengthened in a coup backed by the United States and Britain. From 1953 until 1979, Iran and Israel had a working relationship. Jewish Israel and Persian Iran were enemies of the Arab majority states in the region. Following the revolution, relations took a nosedive. The new theocratic government under Ayatollah Khomeini refused to recognize Israel as a legitimate Jewish state. Israel was seen as the Little Satan, an aggressor that had driven Muslim Palestinians from their land, and a Zionist puppet of Western imperialism in the region, one sponsored in particular by the Great Satan, the United States. Iran's ideological goal is to end Israel as it's known today and replace it with a neutral, non-religious state. Khomeini more bluntly stated that the new Iran's goal would be to wipe Israel off the pages of history. Khomeini's successor, Iran's current supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, has classified the country's government as an oppositional one to Western imperialism and Jewish Zionism. Above all, the 1979 Iranian Revolution brought a Shiite Islamist theocratic government to power in Iran. The new regime wanted to spread Islamic revolution throughout the Middle East, and this meant increasing its influence among the Arab states, which it had been opposed to during the time Shah was in power. Since these Arab states had long been enemies of Israel and fought several wars against it, opposition to the Jewish state and increased influence in the region went hand in hand. In the early to mid-1980s, the rhetoric began to turn into military reality. In 1982, as Israel intervened in Lebanon's civil war at the time, Iran responded by dispatching some of its Revolutionary Guards to Beirut to support local Shiite militias. This support gave birth to Hezbollah, and with it, the start of the Iranian proxy conflict with Israel. Iran has continued to support Hezbollah since this time. Hostility to the Jewish state of Israel is one of the ideological commitments that tie Iran to Hezbollah and its other proxies in the region. Iran's Islamist ideology, however, has limits. Some critics in the country have noted that it shares close relations with China and Russia, which have or are oppressing their respective Muslim minorities. Additionally, Iran stands in fierce opposition to some Arab states, especially Sunni-majority ones, like Saudi Arabia, which it has also had a proxy war with since the revolution. Iran's opposition to Israel should therefore be viewed as much of a geopolitical calculation as a devotion to Shiite Islamist ideology. Iran's ultimate goal for the region is to create an unbroken area for its influence, stretching from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea. This area encompasses the island kingdom of Bahrain, moves into Iran proper, and then by land through Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. All of these areas have Shiite majorities or significant minorities. Because of the shape of this area, it's known as the Shia Crescent, a term created in 2004 by King Abdullah II of Jordan, who commented on Iran's increasing influence in Iraq at the time. In the build-up to the first post-Saddam Hussein elections there, Abdullah commented about a new crescent and warned that a Shiite government influenced by Iran would be the worst-case scenario for the new Iraq. Indeed, the Sunni regime of Saddam Hussein had long been a check on Iranian influence in the region, and his overthrow in 2003's Operation Iraqi Freedom greatly assisted Iran's efforts to create its Shia Crescent. The next major development in favor of Iran came in Lebanon a few years later. There, Israel tried to crush Hezbollah in a military operation in the summer of 2006, but the group did not disarm following Israel's withdrawal, as the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701 demanded. Instead, Hezbollah got stronger, and the Lebanese government has been unwilling or unable to control its military activities near the border with Israel. The growing strength of Hezbollah gave Iran another major victory in the region. The third major step on the road to a Shia Crescent came in Syria, although this one was for a time the most doubtful. The Syrian civil war presented a major challenge to Iran's ambitions. For the first few years, the Shiite Alawite regime of Bashar al-Assad was in trouble. The rise of ISIS and its self-declared Sunni caliphate was another severe challenge to Iran's ambitions. In a demonstration of how complicated the politics in the region are, Iran, Israel, and the United States all shared interests in destroying the ISIS caliphate. Iran's Shiite proxy militias, often with Iraq's backing as well, participated in the operations against the radical Sunni terror group. With no allies, ISIS was destroyed as a territorial organization. The differences between these parties in Syria, however, were irreconcilable. Iran needed to keep Assad in power, while the United States and Israel wanted him ousted. Israel only played a limited role in the Syrian civil war, confining its attacks to Iran's proxies taking part in it. Nevertheless, Tel Aviv was adamant that Assad could not remain in power. In 2017, as the tide was turning in the Syrian regime's favor, then Israeli Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman summed up his government's position. "We cannot allow a man like Assad, who kills his own citizens and who uses chemical weapons against them, to remain in power. Keeping Assad in power is not in our security interests. As long as he is in power, Iran and Hezbollah will be in Syria." However, Assad won the war with Russia and Iran's help. Consequently, his Iranian backers have now almost realized their goal of creating the Shia crescent in the region. This axis of resistance stretches mostly unbroken from Iran to Lebanon. Then Mossad director Yossi Cohen summed up the situation best in 2018, when he said if then Quds Force leader Qasem Soleimani wanted to, he could drive from Tehran to Lebanon's border with Israel without anything to stop him. This route is now wide open for Iran to send personnel and supplies to its proxy militias. Hezbollah was able to participate in the operation against Israel on the night of the 13th to 14th because of this open supply route and communications. The axis of resistance is why Hezbollah is so well armed. On October 7th, Hamas overwhelmed Israel's vaunted Iron Dome with a barrage of thousands of unguided rockets. At the time, experts worried that Hezbollah would join in and learn from this, as its arsenal of these projectiles was far larger than that of Hamas. Perhaps in a test for later operations, Hezbollah targeted Israel's Iron Dome for the first time in December 2023. Iran can send these projectiles to Hezbollah with high reliability thanks to the overland route from its own interior to Lebanon. The expanded area of influence was also why Iran was able to help Hamas coordinate the October 7th terrorist attack that started the current war in Gaza. At least some of the planning for that attack was done in Lebanon, with Iranian agents present. These agents could travel in far greater confidence thanks to the land routes being open. There are a few impediments to Iran's achieving the Shia crescent, however. One such obstacle is the string of American bases in Iraq, Syria, and Jordan, which act as staging grounds to disrupt the operations of Iran and the Shiite militias allied to it. It's not a coincidence that these bases came under heavy attack by Iran's proxies between October 2023 and January 2024. Some of these bases include the Al-Tanf garrison in Syria and its support base, Tower 22 in Jordan. These bases are close to the border junction between Syria, Jordan, and Iraq, and are near the highway that spans the route from Baghdad to Damascus. About 200 special operations troops are stationed at Al-Tanf and supported from Tower 22. These bases can, and have, disrupted the axis of resistance. America's retaliation following the Tower 22 attack quieted the Iranian proxy's activities against its own troops for now, but operations against Israel have continued. In sum, geopolitical events in the 21st century have vastly increased Iran's influence in the region. Israel has responded by attempting to normalize its relationship with the Arab states that have previously opposed it. This process began with the Camp David Accords in 1980, when Israel and Egypt normalized their relations, and continued with the peace treaty with Jordan in 1994. The Abraham Accords of 2020 saw the United Arab Emirates, Morocco, Sudan, and most crucially for Israel, Bahrain, on the route of Iran's desired Shia crescent, normalize their relations with the Israelis. At the time, there was much hope from both Israel and the United States that Saudi Arabia would soon join the Abraham Accords. Both are opposed to Iranian influence in the region and have fought proxy wars with Tehran. Saudi Arabia has long been the most powerful Sunni state in the region and has tried to oppose Iran's Shiite militarism. However, deeply rooted ideological opposition to Israel remained, and the hopes of normalization appeared to be dashed in March 2023 when China brokered a normalization agreement of its own between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Although this agreement could never end the long-running proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran by itself, it nevertheless made a potential normalization of relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia more difficult. Although Saudi Arabia's investment minister, Khalid Al-Falih, said that such talks with Israel were still an option for Riyadh in November 2023. However, the conflict in Gaza following the October 7th attacks has strained the blossoming relations between Israel and its Arab neighbors. The government of the UAE has been facing mounting domestic criticism for its recognition as the war in Gaza goes on, and Saudi Arabia's ability to recognize Israel has likely deteriorated in the months since November. Even if Iran's proxy Hamas is destroyed in the conflict, these results are satisfactory from its point of view. On April 19th, Israel retaliated against Iran. Like the Iranian attack against Israel, the scope was limited and mostly symbolic. There were explosions near the Isfahan airbase in central Iran. Iranian air defense systems also opened up on drones that were supposedly present over several provinces, according to state television. Isfahan airbase is the home of Iran's fleet of F-14 Tomcats, which the Shah purchased from the United States before his overthrow. Iran vowed no retaliation in response to Israel's attack and downplayed the incident. For now, both sides seem to want to avoid getting into a direct conflict, but the proxy war will continue, and Israel will need to find new ways to mitigate the geopolitical disadvantages it suddenly found itself with. Aside from maintaining its own military forces, Israel has floated notions of supporting separatism within Iran. For example, it strengthened ties with Azerbaijan on Iran's northeastern border. The Azerbaijanis recognize Israel's right to exist, and there is a sizable Azerbaijani minority in Iran. These people are concentrated in the west, near the border with Azerbaijan, and compose 25 to 30% of Iran's population. Israeli sponsorship of an Azerbaijani separatist movement, perhaps in cooperation with Baku's Southern Azerbaijan National Awakening movement, could be a key element of leverage. Iran has had tense relationships with Azerbaijan over this, and in 2023, Azerbaijani and Israeli diplomats discussed forming a united front against Iran in public. Israel has another card to play. In southeastern Iran, on the border with Pakistan, Balochi separatists on both sides of the national boundary have proven troublesome. In Pakistan, they have attacked the troops guarding the infrastructure built through China's Belt and Road investments. In Iran, they represent a Sunni threat to Iran's Shiite dominance. The situation got bad enough that in January 2024, Iran launched its first strikes against targets on Pakistani soil. These targets were associated with the Balochi Sunni militant group Jaish al-Adl. Pakistan responded by recalling Iran's ambassador and striking Balochi targets on Iranian territory. According to the CIA, Israeli Mossad agents posing as Americans have met with some of these Balochi separatists in the past. Making the insurgency more serious would be within Israel's interest. From Tehran's standpoint, the operations against Israel, whether directly or indirectly, must continue. Staging these attacks is one of the best ways it aspires to leadership in the region. Backing down, especially in the face of Israeli retaliation, risks this leadership. Israel's presence south of Lebanon also ensures that Iran's Shia crescent can never be truly secure. Israel can strike its proxies and puppets at any time, and its military remains the strongest in the region. Israel has invaded Lebanon multiple times, and there's nothing stopping it from doing so again if it saw the need to. Constantly keeping Israel guessing and on its toes, surrounded by its enemies, is key to the safety of its network of influence. Iran must also deprive Israel of resources to support any notion of separatism within its own borders. Iran will continue to support Hezbollah as its most reliable rapid response against Israel. The group has about 100,000 fighters, upwards of 150,000 rockets and missiles, drones, tanks, and artillery. This group represents a formidable threat to Israeli territory and acts as an obstacle for Israeli operations in the area against Iran's axis of resistance. On the whole, time seems to be on Iran's side. The United States' influence in the Middle East is declining, and with it, Israel's surest guarantor of security. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has diverted much of America's attention and resources. More importantly, the rise of China in the Indo-Pacific region has forced the United States to undergo a revolution in its traditional foreign policy. For the first time since the Cold War, the United States was dealing with a potential regional peer competitor. Containing Beijing's ambitions in the area that's become the center of the global economy is the most important foreign policy priority for Washington. This reality and the decline in the importance of Middle Eastern oil for the US economy means that America will consider the region as tertiary to the Indo-Pacific and after it, Europe. Biden's insistence that the United States would not participate in Israel's retaliatory operation may have been the best clue of this. Iran will take advantage of this time and attack Israel again, whether directly or through its proxies. It's a matter of if, not when. If nothing else, it will have learned about Israel's air defense capabilities in the April 2024 attack. The intelligence it's gathered will help it to plan a more effective second direct strike, should it so desire. Such a strike will likely not come in the immediate future, but few would have predicted this first strike a month ago either. For now, Iran will continue to use its proxies as it hopes to make its Shia crescent more secure, slowly but surely. What do you think Iran will do to Israel next? Is another direct attack on the horizon? Don't forget to let us know in the comments. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons for more military analysis from military experts. Now go and check out how the US will start a war with Iran for attacking Israel, or click this other video instead.